You've been carrying the same prayer to God for a long time now and nothing has changed. Not because you stopped praying, not because your faith ran out, but because the answer hasn't come. And the longer it doesn't come, the more the waiting starts to feel like a verdict. Like maybe God is moving for everyone except you. And you won't say that out loud, so you carry it alone. You know, there's a prophet in scripture who brought that exact feeling to God out loud, no filter, and demanded he explain the silence. And what God said back changed everything. I believe what he found inside the waiting will change how you read your own. Not because God is absent, but because holding your position, continuing to trust, continuing to pray, continuing to believe the appointed time is coming when everything visible says otherwise cause something real. Today, I want to take you into the book of Habakkuk, a prophet who didn't wait quietly, who demanded God explain the silence, and who received an answer that required even more waiting. And I believe what he discovered inside the waiting will change how you read your own. You know, I've sat with believers who were not struggling with whether God exists. They were struggling with something quieter and harder, whether God was moving, whether the prayers they had been faithful to bring year after year were going anywhere, whether the silence was a delay or a verdict. Habakkuk was one of those people. And what makes his book extraordinary is that he doesn't hide it. He opens the book while complaining. He has been waiting. He is not at peace about it. And he says so directly to God. Habakkuk chapter 1 verse 2. He says, "O Lord, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not hear, or cry to you violence, and you will not save? Why do you make me see iniquity? And why do you idly look at wrong? Distraction and violence are before me. Strife and contention arise. So the law is paralyzed, and justice never goes forth." Habakkuk chapter 1 verse 2 to 4. How long shall I cry for help, and you will not hear? Why do you idly look at wrong? This prayer is in the Bible. God did not remove it. He did not correct it. He did not footnote it with a rebuke. He preserved it. He included it in the canon of scripture, which means the prayer of a person who is exhausted from waiting, who feels like God is watching injustice without acting, who is crying out and hearing nothing back. That prayer is legitimate. Habakkuk is not doubting that God exists. He is questioning why a God who exists is apparently standing still. And that is a very different thing. Doubt says, I am not sure he's there. Habakkuk says, I know he's there. So why isn't he moving? This is the prayer of a person whose faith is still intact, but whose patience is running out. And God did not tell him his prayer was wrong. God answered it. But here is where Habakkuk's story takes a turn that most people who quote this book never mention. God answers Habakkuk's complaint in chapter 1, verse 5 through to verse 11. And the answer he gives is stunning and deeply unsatisfying. God says, I am working, I am moving, but the way I am moving is going to confuse you. I'm raising up an army nation to execute judgment on the very people you are crying out about. Habakkuk's response is essentially, that answer is worse than the silence. How can a holy God use an unholy nation? How can the cure be worse than the disease? How does this serve justice? And this is the verse I want you to lock into. Habakkuk does something very remarkable. He says, I will take my stand at my watchpost. I will station myself. Habakkuk doesn't understand the answer, but he doesn't walk away from the post. He goes to the watchtower, not to have his questions answered, not to find peace with the situation, but to hold his position, to remain stationed until something more comes. This is what waiting on God actually looks like. Not passive acceptance, not quiet resignation, not the serene, I have given it all to God that gets performed in many Christian circles. You see, waiting on God is a soldier's posture. It is standing at a post when everything in you wants to abandon it. And that is exactly where most people walk away from the post. Right here, before the answer comes, the watchtower soldier is not idle. He is watching. He is holding his ground. He's refusing to let the silence become a desertion. And here is what his vigilance is rewarded with. God answers from the watchtower. Praise be to his name. And the Lord answered me, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. He says, if it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. Read that carefully, because there is a tension in it that is easy to miss. God does not say it is not slow. He says, if it seems slow, he acknowledges the experience of slowness. He does not dismiss it or correct it. And then he makes the most important promise in the book. It will not delay. The apparent slowness and the certain arrival are both real. The vision has an appointed time. That time is fixed. It is not contingent on how your prayers becomes more eloquent, or your faith becomes more stronger, or your circumstance is cooperating with what you are saying. It is appointed. And then verse 4, the line Paul quotes in Romans, the line that becomes the hinge of the Reformation. He says, the righteous shall live by faith. Not the righteous shall live by his answers. Not the righteous shall live by his outcome. Not the righteous shall live by the visible evidence that God is moving. He says the righteous shall live by his faith in the one who holds the appointed time, while the vision still seems slow. This is not a comfortable verse. It is a warfare verse. It is the instruction given to a soldier who is still at his post, who has received an answer that raised more questions, who is now being told, hold the position by faith. Before we get to the gospel of all this, I need to name the lie that makes long waiting almost unbearable. The lie is this, that nothing changing means nothing is happening. That the silence is the evidence that if God were moving, you would be able to see it. That visible stillness equals divine inactivity. Habakkuk saw nothing change for the entire book. The injustice he cried out about in chapter 1 was still there in the chapter 3. His circumstance did not resolve, but God was working at a level Habakkuk could not monitor from his watchtower. The appointed time was real. The vision was in motion. The arrival was certain. None of it was visible yet. The absence of visible movement is not the absence of movement. It is evidence that what is being prepared cannot yet be seen. Let me ask you something. How long have you been at the watchtower? Drop it in the comment. Maybe a year, 3 years, or a decade, or longer, because I want you to see that you are not alone at the post where you are. And I want you to know that you are not alone in whatever you are going through in this season of your life. Here is what I want to leave you with. Habakkuk chapter 3, which is a song. Habakkuk writes it after everything in the first 2 chapters, after the complaint, after the unsatisfying answer, after the watchtower, after the vision that still hasn't arrived. His circumstances have not changed. The injustice he cried about is still there. The vision is still waiting its appointed time. And yet, he writes, though the fig tree should not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, the produce of the olive fail, and the fields yield no food, the flock be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will take joy in the God of my salvation. God, the Lord, is my strength. He makes my feet like the deer's. He makes me tread on the high places. He says, though nothing. Yet, these three words are the structure of faith under warfare. Though nothing has changed, yet I will rejoice. Not because the waiting is over, not because the vision has arrived, but because the God who holds the appointed time is still God, and that has not changed. This is what Isaiah 40 means when he says, but they who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like the eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. The renewal is not the end of the waiting. It is what happens inside the waiting to the person who stays at the post. The soldier who holds the watchtower long enough does not just endure, he rises. Your waiting is not wasted. It is the specific condition under which God renews the thing that sustained you when you started. So let me leave you with 4 things that are true about your season right now. The honest complaint is a legitimate prayer. Habakkuk proves it. Waiting on God is a held position, not a passive one. The vision has an appointed time. Nothing changing does not mean nothing is happening. They who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. Hold the post. Take Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3 with you this week. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. Read it as a promise about the character of the one who set the appointed time, not as a prediction about your timeline. And if you are sitting with a question of why God allowed something painful during the wait, why trusting Him didn't prevent the hurt, the video is right up here for you. It goes directly alongside what we just talked about today. I want to thank you for watching and ask you to drop a comment if you've been at the watchtower, and subscribe if you want this kind of honest and scripture-based teaching for you every day. Share with a friend, and let's create a community of believers in the Lord. I am Pastor Mawuli Tsikata. Catch you in the next episode. Bye-bye.